folks, I'm Adam Harder, Chief Investment Strategist for the Financial Enhancement Group. Thank you for joining us on this week's Market Carver, where I promise not to talk about Greece, well, except for that one instance. But instead, we go into a new focus. We're going to talk about earnings season, which starts in earnest this week. The next 2 to 3 weeks will be really thick with S&P 500 companies reporting. The expectation is actually for the third quarter earnings to be down 6.5% year over year, or it's a plus minus 0.7% if you back out energy. So the good news about that is that the bar is set relatively low. With the expectations for that slow of earnings, we just hope that there's some upside surprises, but we'll find out in the days coming ahead. You probably heard last week the New York Stock Exchange closed down for about 3.5 hours as they had some technical problems updating their software. What's interesting to me about that, having been around now in the industry for 13 years or so, is really the back seat that the NYSE has taken. It was really a non-event from a trading day. In fact, most of the systems we monitor and things couldn't even really detect it. 3.5 hours is by far the longest technical shutdown the NYSE has ever had. And we've got a chart here to show you just how small the NYSE has become as a percentage of the total volume. It used to be the big player, but now it's down around 20% of the total volume and falling. The third is something we've talked about quite a bit, is auto sales. The labor unions are fixing to negotiate with the automakers, so that's bringing them back into the news, and we actually have used the turmoil to increase our exposure. Some of you, depending on which risk model you're in, may have seen the entry into Asbury Automotive. We like this space for a couple different reasons. The one is that there was about a 50% reduction in the number of dealerships in the country during the last recession. However, auto sales, as we've talked about many times over the past 12 months, are really starting to get strong again. So the profitability of these guys are really good. And lastly, Warren Buffett earlier in the year and other big investors are looking at consolidating that industry and making acquisitions of dealerships. And that should be a good thing for the price multiples of auto dealerships. And lastly, we'll talk about Puerto Rico. We'll throw up a chart here to give you some idea of the scope of the debt problems that Puerto Rico is faced. If you compare that to other states, you can see they are by far more indebted per person than any state on there. You'll be proud for those of us in Indiana. We're relatively low on the list. But the other point to take away is that municipal bonds aren't just necessarily all the same. It very much matters upon which municipality you have and what exposure, if you're in a fund or if you're in a basket, where they have exposure to. That's all I'm going to have for this week. I very much appreciate you hanging on and listening to this week's Market Carver. If you've got a chance to catch our radio show, you can do so Thursday afternoons from 4 to 5 on WILO, that's 1570 AM. On Saturday morning around here in Anderson or Indianapolis on WQME, that's 98.7 from 9 to 10. Or Sunday mornings on Shine 99 from 10 to 11. Hey, thanks again. Have a great weekend.